Hello viewers, this is the part 9 of the series named Mastering OEM, and in this episode we are going to learn about monitoring template, target groups and group hierarchy in OEM 13.5. In the last couple of tutorials, we installed the OEM 13.5, configured a few database targets, learned a few useful OMS and agent-side commands, and also we got ourselves familiar with the menu items and the features available for us from OEM. I suggest you watch the previous tutorials in this series first if you want to set up your virtual learning environment in your PC for OEM and also get a better understanding on today's tutorial. So today's main topic is about monitoring template, target groups and group hierarchy in OEM. Please note that concepts in these three areas will help creating and managing the notification and alerting system more effectively. First, let's start with the monitoring template. I logged into my OEM system as sysman user, and then under enterprise menu go to monitoring, and under that monitoring templates. At first you will not be able to see anything in this page, so what you have to do, click on this display Oracle certified templates and then click on this search button, and it will display a large number of monitoring templates, and each of these templates is defined for a particular target type. Now what is a monitoring template? So monitoring template defines the metric or the statistics on the target to be collected, the frequency of collection, and the thresholds to categorize a metric value at warning or critical level, etc. For example, which Oracle errors are considered as critical, what percentage of the tablespace uses is considered as warning, and what percentage is critical, how much wait time for a SQL statement is considered as at warning, or how much is critical. These all limiting conditions you define in the monitoring template. So whatever we are able to see in this page as monitoring templates, these are all default monitoring template. Most of the time, these default monitoring templates provided by OEM for each of the target types like database, instance, listener, agent, host, etc. serve the purpose. For example, if you go to one of our DB targets, and then you will see that the thresholds for each of the metric collected for that particular target is already defined, and those definitions are coming from the default monitoring templates. So let's validate. I will go to the targets, then all targets, and I will filter out all the other targets except the database targets, and say select any of these two database targets that we have already. Say this ORCL1, right click and then go to Oracle database, under that monitoring menu, and then metric and collection settings. So here you will be able to see that all these metrics which are collected by default, they have certain values already assigned for their warning threshold and critical thresholds, and at what collection schedule they are collected. All this information you will be able to see. For example, under this tablespace full metric, the tablespace space used percentage, you'll be able to see that the warning value for the metric is 85% and the critical value is 97%, and the collection schedule is every 30 minutes. So if you want to modify these values, you can do so by simply modifying the number to the value you want to set it to. For example, say you want the warning percentage at 80 and the critical percentage at 95 to be more careful, and say you want to collect that information not every 30 minutes but every 15 minutes. Then you can click on this every 30 minutes link here. That will take you to another page where you can modify this information. The repeat every this box, the value you can modify it to 15 and then click continue, and that will take you to the previous page where you'll be able to see that the tablespace utilization metric collection frequency is now every 15 minutes. And at this stage, if you click OK, this metric collection and the definition of the values to categorize them as warning or critical will be set for only this particular target, that is our ORCL1 database instance target. But suppose you have hundreds of database targets and you want to set that value to all those targets, then it becomes really complicated and time consuming to go to each of the database targets metric collection settings and modify that value. And there you can actually utilize the monitoring template to apply that change or your custom settings for collection of metrics, their frequency, etc. in all the targets of the similar type. So I will simply cancel this and I will show you how we can do this using a monitoring template. So first we will go back again to enterprise, monitoring, then monitoring template. And here, instead of using the default templates, we are going to create our own template. To create the template, we will click on this create button first, and it will ask for the target or the target type option we want to select. So if we select the target option, then we have to search for a particular target, and accordingly it will create the monitoring template using that target as the source. But we don't want to use a target. Instead, we want to use a target type as our source of metrics and the collection settings. So here we are going to select the databases, and under target type again we'll select database instance. So using these settings, we'll be able to get all the metric collection and settings from the default templates to create our custom template. And then we will click on this continue button. It takes a few seconds to collect all the information about the metric collection and settings from the type of the target we selected and to bring it to our custom template. And now we are in the next page where we'll define the properties. Say I'm going to give it a name like my DB template, and the owner will be obviously sysman because we logged in as sysman while creating this. And if you want to put any description, you can put it there. And also make this the default template for this type of targets. You can check this box here to make this as a default template. So we will learn about that later on. First, we go to the metric thresholds tab, and there you'll be able to see that a large number of metrics are displayed. But we want to select only the ones where the metrics are defined with some thresholds. So we select the second option, metrics with thresholds. Then this list is reduced by a few. And even you'll be able to see that there are certain metrics like dump area uses, archive area uses, and recovery area uses, etc. So for all of those, we are keeping the same metric value as defined by OEM itself. We are just, for demonstration purpose, changing the table space uses percentage to our required value. And you'll be able to see that there are many more table space related metrics collected here. For example, table space full is the one that we are working on currently. But there is also one more metric, that is table space full for dictionary managed table space. Usually these days there is no dictionary management table spaces DBAs used to maintain. So we will not talk about that. And also there are some other metrics like table space with problem segments, temporary file status, etc. So you don't have to worry about all this at this time because OEM has selected all the metrics here which are mostly of our interest. Now we are going to define our table space uses percentage as per our own requirement. Say warning will be at 80 and critical threshold will be at 95. And then this every 30 minutes we are going to change it to every 15 minutes. Make it 15. Click on the continue button. And just to validate one more time that the table space uses warning threshold at 80, critical threshold at 95, and it will be collected every 15 minutes. Then click OK. And our template, my DB template, has been successfully created. And you'll be able to see that template created here. And now if we switch off this particular checkbox and search for the templates, the template that we created is the one which is visible now. Now, because our two database instance targets which we promoted before in our OEM system were created even before we created this template, so whatever settings we have in this template are not actually applied to our database instance targets. So to apply these settings in this MyDB template to the database instances which are already there in our OEM system, we'll select the template that we want to apply by simply selecting the line here in the leftmost box and then click on this apply button. And in the next screen, it is giving us two options. Template will completely replace all the metric settings in the target, and the second option where the template will only override metrics that are common to both template and target. This second option is the safest, so we will select this, and then we will click on the add button to select the targets on which we will apply this template. Now, because we defined the template for the target type database instance, so it is selected by default here, and it is giving us all the database instance targets which are promoted in our OEM system. And out of these, we can select only particular targets if we want, or we can select them all. If you do a Control A, it will select all the targets available. So we are going to apply on these two targets, which are the only two database instance targets available in our OEM system. And then we will click on this select button. And next, we are going to click on this finish button to actually apply the template on these two database targets. And it will take a few seconds, and you can see the status. Pending is 2, means for the two targets that we selected, it is still applying and the apply operation is pending. And if we refresh this page, probably this pending will be gone. So we can see that the pending is 0, means the operation has been successfully completed. Now we will go back to our database targets and check whether those settings were applied or not. Let's select the other database targets, that is the OEM repository database. Then we will right click and then go to Oracle database. Under that, select the monitoring, and under that, go to metric collection and settings. And we should be able to see that the tablespace users percentage metrics for this particular database has changed to 80% and 95% as we set, and also the collection frequency is now set to every 15 minutes. And it will be the same for the other database instance also. Just to validate, let's go back to our all targets, and from there we'll select the second database instance, right click, go to Oracle database menu, under that monitoring, and then metric collection and settings. And here we will see that the tablespace thresholds are 80 and 95 respectively, and also that the collection frequency has been set to every 15 minutes. Click cancel, because we are not making any change here individually. Now, if you want, you can create n number of monitoring templates, or even you can create different templates for your production database targets, non-production database targets, and set the thresholds differently. For example, you want to maintain a tablespace threshold of 80% at warning and 95% for critical thresholds, but you don't want to maintain the same frequency or the threshold values for production database, because you don't want to take a risk and say you want to lower the value. Say warning threshold will be 75 and critical threshold will be 80. So you can create your different monitoring templates like production template and non-production template, and you can accordingly apply those templates to different sets of targets. And once you create a monitoring template, it is also very easy to clone that template and make minor changes to create a new template from that. Say we will go back to our original monitoring template that we created as MyDB template, and say we want to clone this template to create a new one for production databases. So what we can do, select this template, under actions menu, select the create like option, and here we can put a new template like production DB template. And here we can create a new template using all the settings that were copied from the source template. And now we go to metric thresholds tab, and there we can make necessary changes for the production template. Say here also it is selecting all the metrics by default. We will select only the ones where thresholds are available to reduce the number of metrics. And then we will go to the tablespace full metric, and under that, say we want to maintain the warning at 75 and critical at 80 for production databases. And if we click on OK, a new template will be created, which is named as production DB template. Now this template is not applied to any database instance. That's why we see that the past is 0, pending is 0, and failed is also 0. Now we will set the first template that we created as our default template, so that whenever a database target is discovered and promoted in this OEM system, this MyDB template will be applied automatically. To do that, we select this template, click on this edit button, and then we will select this checkbox here, make this the default template for this target type, and click OK. And we see that there is one icon that came just in front of the template name, which is actually saying that this is the default template for all targets of type database instance. Now we got an idea about monitoring template and how we can create production and non-production monitoring templates for different sets of targets. The next thing we need to learn is the target grouping. So if you go to targets and groups, you'll be able to see no groups currently displayed here because we have not created any groups on our targets. So here we are talking about the normal groups. There are also two different types of groups, which are called administrative groups and dynamic groups. We are not covering those two types of groups in this tutorial. So what is a group? A group is a collection of targets. You create the groups for the ease of administration and management of your targets. For example, if you create a group of all the database targets, or if you create a group of all the database listeners, or if you create a different group for all the agents, then you will be able to manage them as a group, which significantly reduces the effort to manage and administer them. So we will first create one group. As I said, I'm going to create a normal group, which is the first option here, and then we will give a name, say prod DB instance. Right now we have nothing to define as a parent group, so what we are going to do, we are going to add the members under this group because we are going to add only database instances here. So let's select the database instance as the target type, and because we have only two database instance targets available in our OEM, so we are going to select only one, which is the database instance for the OEM repository database. We will be considering this as our production database instance, and I just selected that one and click on the select button and then click on this OK button. So our group name prod DB instance has been successfully created, and right now it has only one instance under that. Now we are going to create another group for the non-production DB instance. So we simply select this line and then click on the create like option here, and the name will be, say, non-prod DB instance this time. As usual, we are not selecting any parent groups here, and from this group we have to remove this OEM repo database because we considered it as a production database. So we'll remove it and add the other database instance that we have in our system. Let's select the database instance targets only, and from there we will select the database instance named ORCL1 and click on this OK button. Now our non-production DB instance and production DB instance, these two groups are created. Similarly, we are going to create one group for the listeners. So click on the create group, and we will put like production listener and click on the add button to add the listener that we designate as our production DB listener. So that is nothing but the listener named listener OEM in our OEM repository database server. Click on the select button, click OK, and similarly we will create another group for the non-production listeners this time. So we will select, say, non-production listener. Please note that these values are coming automatically because sometime back I was creating these groups for testing purpose, and the browser is automatically remembering those text values entered in this text box. But in your case, if you are doing it for the first time, these values may not be available for you. So I will select the non-production listener here as the name of the group, and I will remove the existing listener. Please note that it is coming because we use the create like option from the original group, which already has this listener OEM target. So remove it, click on the add button, and from there we will select the listener that is available in the other VM named VM Linux 1. Click on the select button click OK, and our second listener group is also created. So now we have two groups each for the listener and database instance type targets. And now we can create a parent group for each of these targets. For example, we can create a group for all production type targets. So click on this create button, then select the group option, and under that we will select our parent group as production group, and then we will select the two subgroups as the production database instance and production listener groups. So in this target type, instead of selecting individual target types, we will select the group option, then it will display all the candidate groups. And because we are creating this as a production group, so we are selecting here production DB instance and production listener as subgroups. So now this is creating a hierarchy of groups here. So we have the topmost group as production group, and under production group we have two subgroups as production DB instance and production listener. Similarly, we are going to create a parent group as non-production group, and under that we will add this non-production DB instance and non-production listener. So we are going to create a group, and we are going to give a name as non-prod group, and under that we are going to select our two candidate groups as non-prod DB instance and non-prod listener. Click on the select button and click OK to complete creation of the parent group. So we have two parent groups now, production group and non-production group, and each of these parent groups have subgroups as the non-production DB target groups and listener target groups. Now, as we almost completed defining our groups, let me also tell you that these groups are less restrictive. In this sense, they will allow you to add one particular target to multiple groups. For example, by mistake, even if you add one database target to both a production group and a non-production group, these groups are going to accept that particular target. And to avoid this kind of situation, we have the administrative or dynamic group. The dynamic groups are actually the groups which will select the targets based on certain properties, and this is done by OEM. So there is no chance that one particular target will belong to two groups, like production and non-production both. Now, we have defined these groups and we know that which one is production group and which one is non-production. But OEM doesn't have a way to find out whether it's actually a production group or non-production group. To define that, we have another way. So you select the line, right click on the group, say production group, then go to target setup, and under that go to properties. Under these properties, there are certain values like comments, contact, cost center, customer support identifier, department, downtime contact, life cycle status. These are many more properties that you can associate with each of these groups. But we are going to talk about one particular property which will be very important for us, that is the life cycle status. And to change that life cycle status, we have to first click on this edit button, and there we will change it to, say, production for this production group, and then click OK. And then we will go back to our groups again. This time we will select the non-production group, and then right click, go to target setup, properties, click on the edit button, and in the life cycle status we have other non-production options like development, test, staging, etc. And we will simply select the development this time. You can select test also if you want, but say we will, for simplicity, keep all the non-productions as development only for now. Then click on the OK button, and then we will go back to our groups again. And here I am defining the properties only at the parent level or the highest level, so that I don't have to define it again under the subgroups or at individual target level. This is a ease of management or administration that I mentioned earlier. Now, to give a real world example of how it is making our administrative and management tasks easier, I'll just take our monitoring template example. Now, if we go to our monitoring templates page and say we want to apply the production DB template on all our production databases. To do that, what we are going to do, we will select the production DB template here and click on the apply button, and from here again we'll click on this add button, and there, instead of individually selecting all the database instances, we will unselect this and simply click on this group option, and then we'll be able to see that all the groups are displaying here where at least one or more database targets are included. So we can see that a non-production DB instance is selected, and non-production group is also selected because this is having the non-production DB instance group. Similarly, the production group is there, and the production DB instance group is also there because this group is a subgroup of the production group. So from there, because I'm going to apply the production DB template, so I am simply selecting the production DB instance group here because this template is created only for database instance. Please remember that production group is also having production DB instance as well as production listeners, which we want to exclude here. So we selected the production DB instance here and then click on select, and then if we click on the finish button, then all the production DB instances under the production DB instance group will be having the settings of this production DB template and all its settings. Right now, because the production DB instance group has only one production database target, so this template will be applied only on that single target. So there will be many more advantages of creating these groups and the group hierarchy. And now you learn about monitoring templates and groups. And in the next video in this series, we are going to learn the incident rules and the alerting mechanism and how we are going to utilize the groups that we created in creating our incident rules and the alerts. So viewers, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Please hit the like button if you liked it and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss an episode in this series for the Oracle DBAs or similar educational videos that I am uploading every week.